Okay. Raise your hand if you have a tattoo. Keep it up if it's Goonies. It hurts a little, doesn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Feldman and Geek.
Alright, normally I don't do panels, but I see two of my good friends here, and I said, why not?
He was guilted into it.
You have to do this panel. It's Friday in San Antonio. It's like, what better thing to do? No, I don't know. Sorry.
Sean and I, we've done a couple of shows together, and he's always in a t-shirt and jeans. And I saw him tonight, I said, he's in a tie and a sport jacket.
It's because I woke up this morning and I looked in the mirror and I thought, God, I look like crap. So I took an Uber to Macy's across the street. I got 3 shirts, 3 ties, a jacket, and a belt. Thank you very much.
All for $19.99, right? No, dude, that was a joke.
Well, since all these guys walked in, we're gonna do like a proper intro.
I like it. Yeah.
Let me just do a real quick proper intro. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Walters of BigFanboy.com, and thank you so much for being here for Goonies Never Say Die. Let's give them a big hand. We really appreciate you guys being here at Alamo City Comic Con, and Jonathan, you just mentioned, and I think you're correct. While you guys have done shows together, is this the first time all 3 of you have been on a stage together like this?
Yes, very first time. Right? We've never done.
I would just lie, but I don't know if like you can figure it out. Like, absolutely.
No, I think there was, okay, well, there was the one that was like a Warner Brothers one, right? That Dick had us do at Warner Brothers where we all did a panel together. But for actual Comic-Con or anything like that, I don't
This would be the very first time.
Yeah. So there you go. All for you.
I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions for us, right?
Yeah, we're going to take some questions.
And we're going to get one from everybody.
A couple of quick notes. If you can, please try to keep your questions short so that we can get through as many of them as we can. And please, no requests for any like autographs, hugs, things like that. Just go see those guys at the table. They'll be happy to see you.
How awesome is this room? It's
pretty cool, isn't it?
It's like prison chic.
Very nice.
I want to kind of kick this off and ask you guys, because I was just revisiting the film the other day in preparation for this panel, and the one thing that really strikes me about this film is, first of all, it holds up very, very well, but second of all, this is not a movie that would be made today. Because, I mean, when you look at, like, the real props that were made for the film, the actual ship that was made for the film, there's no way they would ever go through that kind of trouble today. So, when you look back on it, does that aspect of the film kind of strike you as being a really special thing, that you were part of this thing that was grander and more epic in scale than what you would see in a movie today? Because today it would all be CGI.
Dick Donner has the pirate ship model on his, like, the table when you walk into his office. Like, and I think Steven might have one of them. I don't know how many there were, but they really loved them. These are guys who are making some of the biggest, coolest movies of their day. And like the signature thing in there, you know, you walk into their offices and they've got posters that say, you know, 300 million for Lethal Weapon, and they've got the, you know, E.T. and all these things, but the thing they really loved was the pirate ship from the Goonies. So definitely love that. My kids just binge watched all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I remember thinking after we did Goonies, like, wouldn't it be great to do a pirate movie like the Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney, or like Real Pirates or something like that, where it's not just their skeletons, you could. So, I don't know, I feel like things exist in their time, in their place, and yeah, I mean, if people want to know about a sequel for Goonies, it's hard to make it because you can't capture that same quality, that same innocence, the same kind of irreverence, the same, just how we all kind of talked at the same time. You wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't be able to get away with that. People.
I think that's what's so great about the movie as well too, because it did recognize an opportunity to allow us kids to be kids. We weren't actors playing these roles. We were just, we're just being ourselves. And I think a lot of, because we were so, great friends, we hung out together, we laughed, we cried, we were like a big family. And because of that chemistry, it transferred over onto the screen. And a lot of times, I don't think you can make the same movie. I mean, it would cost, what, $100, $200 million today. We built all those sets. I mean, everything you see up on that screen, it was there. There was no green screen.
Well, there was a little.
Almost. It was like the very beginnings of industrial.
And it was blue screen. It wasn't blue. It was blue screen, not green screen.
It was
No, really, it wasn't blue screen.
It was like matte paintings.
Yeah,
It was matte
But
paintings.
wait, I can tell you what it was exactly. It was for the end shot with the pirate ship, and it was for the part where the cave starts to crumble and fall apart right before it gets released. No. Well, that too. Yeah, that's the third one.
But it was like a combination.
But when
of
right
miniatures and
when
matte paintings
the
and
ship
stuff.
is released at the very end of the movie, I don't know, where you start seeing the bits of sunlight start breaking through and all of that. That's the CGI they did.
I remember seeing the screen, like actual physical blue screen on when we were doing the bone scene, where if you play the thing wrong, yeah, and they had the camera down really low, and we kind of were all.
I had to fall into it. I let myself go. Steven's down there, and he's on a ladder yelling at me, and then, well, not yelling, but telling me what to do. And there's a crane camera, and 5K lights, and all the crew, and they're all standing beneath me, and they're like, yeah, so just throw yourself backwards and let the belt harness, which is like a little tiny cable that's like this big. They're like, it'll catch you, don't worry. And I'm like, really? It's gonna catch me? But it did.
But those guys from ILM who came from up north were explaining that technology like it was absolutely brand new. And it wasn't used a lot. It was just, they were almost experimenting with it a little bit. Just like they were with some of the special effects makeup. It was right at a moment when technology was about to leap forward, but it really hadn't.
Yeah.
So it was pretty.
Cusp.
We were on a cusp.
This was also a time when maybe things weren't quite, not as many precautions were taken on movie sets as maybe there are now. Did you guys sustain any injuries when you were working on the movie?
Are you kidding? That was Spielberg, man. They were safe.
I remember one of the 10Ks blew up. One of the 10K, sometimes they like the old-fashioned big Klieg lights, like you picture in, the 50s or 30s or something like that. And it's made with safety glass, really thick, like bottom of a Coke bottle safety glass. And if it gets too hot, it can happen where all of a sudden, boom! And I remember everybody kind of ducking while these little bits of glass, which are broken, kind of the way they're designed to, kind of landed around. But it was definitely like, uh-oh. Yeah. But everybody was pretty.
Yeah, it was safe. It was made to look really dangerous, right?
No, considering all the perils that we went through, did you like that? That was a little not anyway, yeah, no, really, considering all the dangerous elements, I guess you would consider having kids. But the thing is, you also have to remember, they didn't ever let us on the cave sets if they weren't working. And they also didn't let us on the pirate ship set at all until it was ready to film.
Carrie.
We try to sneak in.
See? Truth comes out.
Well, that was the big story.
Okay, can we go back to this for a second? So on the DVD commentary, right, I'm the only one that's honest, and everybody else is like, in front of Dick, they're like, nope, never happened. Right now they're like, yeah, we all snuck in.
Yeah. They were like, if they saw anything, you're fired.
We're all gonna see Dick next week, I'm telling them.
Talking about Richard Donner and working with Richard Donner, at the time, he was like one of the biggest directors in Hollywood, but did you guys as kids have any kind of perception of who exactly this man was? And what was your memory of meeting him and starting to work with him? Because it's obviously different, you know, it was, for him, I guess it was his first movie to really work with kids, a kid cast like that. Is that right? Because he had mostly been known for Superman.
Singing The Omen.
Yeah, The Omen, yeah. Right.
I think during the production of the movie, he aged like 30 years.
Absolutely.
We drove him crazy.
Well, he's got this big, booming voice.
Hey, kid!
Hip hop, and you kind of get this.
Get over here!
It's a little scary until you get to know him, and he's just like the biggest teddy bear you ever met. But when I auditioned, I kept messing up the lines, like, sorry you can't do it, you don't know how to remember your lines, and Steven got up and walked out of the audition. And I was like, well, there you go. Not only am I not going to be in Goonies, but I won't be in anything ever in Hollywood because Steve Spielberg just walked out on me. And Dick came around the table, because they were kind of in this big imposing table in Amblin, and he comes around and he kind of takes a knee next to me, and he just talks to me a little bit. And I'm looking at him, and I appreciated that he was doing the bonding thing, but kids are more sophisticated than people give them credit for. And at 12 or 13 or whatever, you know what's going on. But he talked to me, and then he wanted me to do it again. And I did it again, and I still messed it up at the same part, but he could tell that it was that I was like the guy. He could tell that I was the guy. So there was a little bit of a bond that was established.
It was your nervous awkwardness at that moment, though, that sold it. You see, that gave that innocence to the character that they were looking for.
Yeah, I'll try and put that on the next one, see if I can.
That innocence, but there was a long time ago, buddy.
There were several times where we kind of returned to that rapport with each other. There was a time when they had written for the Fratellis to give a speech about the Spanish Armada, and when Willie had sort of made his break for the Armada and that whole thing, and he said it wasn't working, like it was too sinister or serious when they were doing it, so he wanted me to do it. And it was late at night, it was stage 20, and he brought me outside into the little alleyway. And it's awesome, like the Warner Brothers water towers up there, and you can see the gate where people go. You feel like a hotshot. You're like, yeah, I'm on set. Now the director's having like star to director conversation, and you're like, this is awesome. And he said, I'm going to tell you a story. He said, I want you to just listen to the story, and then I want you to tell the story back to me. Can you do that? I said, sure. So he told me the story of Willie and the Armada. And he's like, do you understand it? I said, yeah. He said, are you ready to do it? I said, sure. So we go in, we sit down, and we film the thing, and it was like, it's an incredible acting lesson. So there was no...
I actually remember that moment. I remember that moment.
Hey, you were like sticking your tongue through the thing or something.
No. A different moment, but close together. No.
No, it was a tableau shot.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It was the first shot where we were all kneeled down. We were all kneeled down, and you were looking at the glass thing. And I will never forget, because I was so tempted to want to keep pushing the glass, even though it was cracked. I don't know, it's that obsession that's in a kid's mind, like I really want to touch it. But anyway, I was looking over your shoulder, and I remember that you were doing well, but there was something that he just wasn't getting out of it. And he pulled you aside and he said, let me tell you the story.
Well, we're going to kick it over to audience questions here in 1 second, but I'm going to go ahead and get to it and just get it out of the way because inevitably someone will ask it. So, Goonies II. Everybody asks you guys.
Did you guys like it?
Yeah, So I'm curious because I know everybody always asks you guys about it. Is there talk still about it? How close has it actually become a reality? And is there still a chance?
It's been very, very close a lot. They have millions and millions of dollars against screenplays, meaning they've paid millions of dollars to have different, great filmmakers, great writers do it, and then they haven't made it. So at a certain point, when they ultimately make the movie, the budget of the movie will be whatever the budget is, plus the amount of money they've spent on all the screenplays. So that's what they mean when they say money against it. So they have millions of dollars against this movie, which is really rare. It's really, I don't know, now in the super comic book age, maybe they do stuff where they'll, Avengers or something, I don't know. But they've tried. Steven is the decider, the sole decider. He's never gotten to a place where he thought it was good enough. We've
Good enough.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, over the years, there's so many writers that they hire. I have a couple of USC writers who graduated from the writing program, and we get together and they say, yeah, I just went in and pitched a version of my Goonies II story. So I know the meeting with a lot of people, and just...
That was recently?
There's always people doing it. I mean, the hottest people
I
in Hollywood are always
haven't
busy.
heard anything in like a year. I think it's been a year since I've heard anything at all.
They just, I don't think they listen with an open mind anymore.
I don't think so
I
either.
think everybody knows what the version that they want to do. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to reboot it. It's going to be completely different, and the actors from the Goonies will be invited to do little cameos like they did in Ghostbusters.
And it'll suck, and everybody will hate it, and that's insanity. The studios are corporations, and they are not your friends.
But nothing can ever take away what we did.
That's right.
No matter how many versions, they should have done an animated series. I don't know why they never did that. Dick wanted to do a Broadway musical. That would have been great. You know, people love this thing. I said the tattoo thing because every convention I go to, countless people come up and show me their, the ship or the truffle shuffle or
Or the four of us behind the map.
whatever they do it. So it's
People
like,
get a tattoo on their leg of the four of our faces with a map, I mean, and I'm talking these are guys.
the hair grows back and sort of like, no, but I mean,
Our beards all of a sudden, weird Wolfman faces.
From Warner Brothers' perspective, it is a title that is, I don't know if evergreen is the right word, but they know it has legs. All the toys, all the posters, all the whatever, they'll keep doing it. And there's no slot machines, everything you can, lunchboxes and shirts and whatever. The people, you guys, and we love the characters and we love the story. A lot of us would love to see like where we're at now, like continue where the parents of the Goonies or whatever.
Or where we were 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 10 years ago.
Economically, it makes
Of
sense,
course,
but it's just
but-
a matter of finding a story that's not going to disappoint the fans.
Here's the problem. Let me be very honest, like Shanta, like he said, but all in a summary. The bottom line is Dick and Steven and Chris, who are the creators, all have whatever their vision of what they expect from it to be, their own ideas of that in their mind, and nothing will ever impress them or live up to whatever that one magic idea is, and until they hear it from another person, they can't be convinced that it's the right one. So until they find that, it's not going to move forward, and the problem is at some point, one of us is going to die, somebody's going to die, and then it's a reboot. And that's unfortunately the way it goes. Because I don't think any of us are going to do it without the other.
I do it without Keith. He's my favorite, so I can say that.
All
Say
right,
that about my kids.
Sword through the heart.
I have 3 daughters. I switch up telling them which one's my favorite on any given day.
all right, I know you guys have questions. Let's kick off some audience questions. We have a microphone right here. Who would like to kick off our first question? Is there a microphone over there or just over here? Is there one over here?
Just shout.
Anybody? If you have a question, raise your hand. Right here. In the red. Yes, go.
First of all, a sequel, regardless of the story, would be much better and appreciated by the fans than a reboot, so pass that off to people.
We agree.
If you had to decide what your character was in the sequel, what would you do?
For who? Who's that question directed to? Oh, okay. Well, start down there.
Where would you want your character to be now?
Oh, God. Go ahead.
I know where I want us all to be. Well, I know I want the two of us. You have ideas about where you want to be. I want to go back and meet One-Eyed Willie. I want to get in a time machine and go, like, interact with Willie.
We both wanted that. What do you mean you?
That was our idea. No, but your idea for him was awesome.
It was all one big idea, though, right? It was like...
Well, I don't know they know this, but at actually
It was really
went in.
good.
They actually went in and pitched it to Dick.
Dick was so great. He was listening. First, he took it really seriously. He had his staff.
Two staff people, and Chris Columbus's head person was there. And
so we really worked on it. We spent a couple weeks getting it right, and we go in there, and Dick is listening to it, and you can tell he goes into. He's kind of a hippie a little bit. He's kind of there's a piece of
at
it.
first, you can tell he's really digging
He
it.
was like closing his eyes, and he was rocking back and forth, and he was like this. And afterward, we're looking at each other like, okay. And then after it's over, he goes, yeah, we're not going to do that.
I mean, they put a lot of effort into it. Sean,
And we're like, why? The big question was why? And he says, too expensive. Great idea, too expensive. And we said, it's freaking Goonies II. What are you gonna do? Spend $5 million?
Well, we had the entire Spanish and English Armada fighting each other.
Right. This could have been 3 sequels and a prequel. I mean, we have no idea.
We're gonna have Key working at the CERN. This is your idea. At the CERN Super Collider.
We wanted him to be a well-advanced scientist working at the CERN Super Collider, at which point we found out that they had messed up and created a black hole, a ripple in time, and that is how the Spanish Armada got through in the first place. And we had a chance to go back and find
It was awesome. It was awesome.
We were traveling to 4 different countries. It was like the Indiana Jones thing where like first we go to here, then to Paraguay, and then we have to all meet up
The Canary Islands. And the Fratellis they were always on our heels. The Fratellis were always there. At a certain point, Chunks, like with the Turkish Navy on top of a battleship, like, go this way.
It was some good stuff, guys. You would have loved it. It was the Goonies sequel we all wanted to see. But, you know, at the end of the day, there are the budgetary restraints, and obviously they know what that.
No, Dick had just done a time travel movie.
That's true, and it didn't work out very well, did it?
Like, yeah, and I think he was like, yeah, I'm not doing kids and time travel again.
The 2 things I don't want to do. Thanks, guys.
All right, this guy over here really wants to ask a question.
What are your thoughts on like, for instance, Stranger Days, and taking, how do I say, inspiration from those decades, even from, the Goonies and everything?
Stranger Days?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. He's on the show. Let him into it.
The Duffer Brothers, who created that, sold the show based on a kind of 5-minute thing that they put together. They showed me, and it just created that 1980s feeling. It just tapped in to that nostalgia, Poltergeist and E.T. and Back to the Future and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and like all that moment in time, that like 82 to 87 was the like great, such a golden era of a certain kind of movie, and they loved it. They grew up loving those movies, and so they basically told Netflix, we want to do something that captures that tone. So the kids on the bikes, and the Demogorgon, and all that stuff. And I learned about it in cons. People would come up to me and say, you got to see it. This thing is Goonies. And I was like, yeah, but it's more monsters than Goonies, right? Like, I'm such an idiot. And so I watch it, and then next thing I know, I get to be on it. I just did a whole season on it.
What's crazy is Will.i.am stopped me in a club one night and he goes, Corey, Stranger Things. What is that? It's a TV show. You gotta watch it. I'm like, okay, thanks for the heads up. Now my friend is on it, so look at that.
I was like,
now I have to watch it.
Led Zeppelin loved Lord of the Rings, loved Tolkien. Like, my friend was just driving in his car and he was just playing all these tracks of Led Zeppelin stuff, and they were all named after characters from Lord of the Rings, whatever. But for Will.i.am, it's all about Stranger Things, I guess. Like, everybody finds inspiration.
So, he was very moved by it. I mean, very, he just like.
The kids are awesome, and their performances, they love the Duffer Brothers love the kids. They and it's exactly what you said about wanting to capture kids being natural.
Yeah, and also, I've seen the show. It's a great show. And what's so cool about the 80s is that you have this generation that grew up watching these 80s movies, whether it's Indiana Jones, Goonies, Back to the Future. And then now they're like in their 30s and 40s, and there's a sense of nostalgia. And I think shows like either Stranger Things or was it the Goldbergs?
Yeah, the Goldbergs.
shows like these are for that generation.
It's
And I think
amazing
it's
how,
awesome.
like, whatever show is hot, like, I'll be on a treadmill in some far-flung place, and you're like, oh, they're doing Goonies. I remember I was, like, in the snow in Toronto. I mean, it was, like, so cold, and I just looked up, and the guy doing Chunk was fantastic. You know?
I didn't get to see it, but they called and asked our permission for that stuff. And then, yeah. But I never got to see it. Was it good? Was it funny?
There was no sound. It looked great.
Oh! Did you see it with sound?
Yeah.
How-
It's good. It's a good show.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, there's some great, like, iconic images from the Goonies. I mean, if you see, like, 4 kids on a bike, that's a great Goonies, image. So I think the first time that I saw Stranger Things was, there's a great scene where, these kids are riding bicycles. And it has that very, reminiscent of the Goonies.
They're almost even more sophisticated. Like the one kid, I remember in E.T., like the pizza, remember when the pizza gets delivered in E.T. and they're all singing and kids are just acting like idiots and the pizza gets messed up and then they go out in the back. It's the same thing, they're playing a game, like those houses have a very specific look, but the little kid was like kind of, he's like offering a pizza to the sister. Like really kind of, I don't know, they're a little bit smarter. They're a little bit smarter now. The 80s kids in 2017 are smarter than the 80s kids in the 80s. Except for Matthew Broderick. And Matthew Broderick was the smartest in the games.
Anybody over here? Over here. Say it again. How often do you guys have a reunion?
Every other week. Every week. In a different city somewhere, and we tell them all it's the first time.
What constitutes a reunion? There's always the 20th and then the 25th and the 30th. And
Sean and I see each other all the time. Key and I see each other once in a while.
And Sean and I, we live like 5 minutes away from each other.
I go running in front of your house. I do.
And they both, I moved into their neighborhood. So, in fact, we actually kind of have the Goondocks right there. But, no, we don't all go down to the pizza store together. We just don't do that. I don't know. It's never happened.
Now you will.
Well, now we will. Everything will change after today. And
After we get our Goonies tattoos.
in fact, I'm canceling my tour, and
I'm getting Corey. I'm going to get Corey right
I'm
here.
gonna stalk Sean. I'm gonna start living outside your house.
You can come in. You're welcome anytime.
I'm stalking you. It's
Okay.
not quite as fun if I'm invited.
There's a little one over here in the red. Yes.
Good question. Good question. Yeah, you know what? For a long time, the lady who owned the house was so friendly, and she would let anyone who wanted to come up there and go inside the Goonies house, she would let them go in there.
She would do tours.
Tours, like people would get married up there. I remember going in at one day, I go up there, and there's a wedding, and they're like, do you want to be the witness for their wedding? And I was like, sure. And the people were like, they thought that was so cool. But I thought they would think it was even cooler that Mikey was there. But they were like, cool. And then they went back to their wedding. Their wedding, what was important to them then. But then,
How dare they take their
I know,
wedding
it's
seriously in the
outrageous.
presence of Sean Astin?
I was like, do we want to do an interview? Oh, not interested? Okay, that's fine. Well, then they got, when the Goonies started to really get popular again, and a lot of people started going up there, and they would roughhouse, they just drink and smoke, and they were like not very respectful of the lady in her house. So at a certain point, she was fed up with it, and she put up a sign saying, no trespassing, and they would trespass anyway. So then she would take this blue tarp and cover the house with it, so that people would stop trying to take pictures. I ended up writing this Facebook post telling the Goonies, if you love the Goonies and you understand what the movie's about, it was about protecting the sanctity of the home. So don't disrespect it. And she ended up, I think, and then really the city should have bought it, but I think someone else bought it. I have no idea what their relationship to it is.
Well, that was, I think, honestly, as far as I know, the actual new people that bought it were the ones who were doing the tarp and stuff. Because it was up, she lived in it up until like just a couple of years ago, and then either she passed away or she moved something, and somebody new took it, and they weren't having it. They were like, no.
I have this idea that they should, like, in the Target parking lot, put one of those, like, a huge pole up there, and you could, like, climb up with a, like, a spyglass and you could look at it. I'm trying to find a way to make everybody happy, you know what I mean?
Well, no, the problem is now, what happens is, because, you know, of course the house is still there, the driveway's still there, it's accessible to the street. There's really no way, I mean, if you could be there and know the geography, it's these tiny little dirt roads, you know, so it's not like you can put fencing up or anything. So it's still in the same situation, but now there's a sign that says no trespassing, and it's got the little Goonies figures, and it says, yes, this is the house that the Goonies were shot in. Please don't come up the driveway or we'll shoot you. But if you want to take a picture, you're welcome to do so from down here at this vantage point. Please be respectful of the neighbors.
Has it changed? I haven't.
It's exactly the same. No, I was there last year. Exactly the same.
Yeah. And there's also all the other places in town that we filmed that are still kind of roughly the same. Like that.
Yeah, like downtown. I mean, like that old downtown.
They built a couple of places, like the one theater.
I know, but it still looks pretty 1934.
Right here.
How long did it take to film the movie and Austin, where y'all at, Oregon and towards, and then Hollywood?
I think 5 months. I think it took 5 months to make the movie. I mean, that was back then. You can't do, it'll cost way too much.
It was about 2 months in Astoria and 3 months
in Warner Brothers Lab.
Yeah, the Warner Brothers Lab.
Back here.
My question's for Corey. One of the scenes, you were in a fountain and had a big reporter who said, well, this was my dream, my wish. I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back. So I want to know what your wish was. Because I don't know if anybody's ever asked you that.
That I could get to lunch before the crew.
Here, right here.
Come on.
What? No, I was acting. You know, the character's got this wish. He's really pissed off. As a matter of fact, I remember, you know, Donner actually had like this big talk with me about it because I was like, I just didn't get the whole thing. I was just like, what do you mean I'm taking them all back? I'm not a thief. What is a thief all of a sudden? I'm not gonna steal. He says, no, but it's okay because you probably threw them in here. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking you threw these quarters in here and none of them came true and you deserve the right to get them back. I was like, I get it now. So, you know, I was probably thinking
I remember that day, and Peppy, who's a guy who's my guardian, he would drive me to work every day.
He opened a pizza joint.
He opened a pizza joint. He was a corpsman in Vietnam, and he was a really fascinating guy. And he ended up being my guardian for like 4 or 5 movies when I was a kid because my parents were working actors and they weren't going to like babysit me on the set all the time. So I remember after that scene, he was like crying. Yeah. He thought he was so impressed, and he said that everyone else watching.
Because I did so badly? He was so sad for the kid. I'm just joking.
There was something about the emotionality of that character and what was going on for him and what was going on for you that connected in a way that was like
Well, it was
legit. It was legit emotional, and he was like, I remember I wasn't jealous, but I remember like, I don't know, I don't know if I got it either, but it definitely made an impression on me that he was moved by that sense of like pain and childhood loss.
Everybody can relate with that idea, you know, because so many people get short-sighted in life and they don't get to live their dreams. And I was that kid, you know, I felt that way, so of course I connected to it in a very real way. But that said, I also was a prophesized moment because I became that daredreamer, if you will, who chose to live outside of the box and follow my dreams instead of follow the blueprint, and it worked out for me. So in the end, follow your dreams, and maybe one day your wish will come true. How's that?
Right here.
You're like way too young to have kids.
They refuse to watch it.
For a lot of years, they did not like Sloth, and they were not going to watch. Yeah, they were like freaked out. They were big fraidy cats. They each in their own. Allie is 20, so she just finished her second year at college, and
Beautiful, talented girl, by the way. Wow. What a daughter.
She's in Harvard, right?
she's in Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Harvard, folks.
So I remember her, I can't remember when she was. It's really kind of cool because I'm just dad. And I'm the guy who like is sleeping and doesn't want to do stuff. And they're constantly like, all kids, like not wanting to be embarrassed by dad. Like, Dad, you have to wear this, or Dad, don't say anything about that, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm like an adult. I know how to do stuff. But every now and then, they will discover something like the Goonies or Lord of the Rings or something, and all of a sudden they'll kind of like look at me, and they'll kind of look at that, and they're like, wow, you're actually like good in that. Thank you very much. So I was going to build on the dream thing. So Dukes of Hazzard filmed on the back lot, kind of like a couple stages away from us, and they were always wrecking the cars and doing stuff. So one day, this piggybacks on get to the lunch before the crew. So I'm walking from stage 16 down to where the commissary is, and Catherine Bond, Daisy Duke, right, rolls up in her Daisy Dukes, and I kind of put my hand out, and she pulls over, and she's like, "You want to ride?" I was like, "I would love to ride." I get into the golf cart, and we go down to the commissary, and she pulls up, and she's like, "Bye." I'm like, "Bye," and I get off, and all the crew's looking at me like, "There's unbelievable." That was my dream, and it didn't come true.
This young lady right here in the front row. Yes, you. Get your hand up.
Good question.
Everybody hear that in the back?
How did you know Sloth's eyes were two different colors?
She can see it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I don't mean to be gender or whatever,
Not
but
to
girls
say I
are
haven't seen the
observant.
movie a few times. No, I mean I've seen the movie like what, 100,000 million times, and I've never noticed ever.
What I noticed about Sloth's eyes is that one is lower than the other.
Well, we all know that.
So what they did was they actually made a prosthetic. They took special foam and they put it over his eye. John Matusak was a football player who played Sloth, and they covered his real eye, and then it was thick, and they cut it out and they put a make-believe eye in there, and they put a little
Robotic eye.
Yeah, and they could stand back with a remote control. They could move his ears, and they could move his eye. And I always thought it was really, it looked uncomfortable.
Could you imagine having makeup on that's got wires running through it that move your different fake body parts?
And this is supposed to be your eye.
Sorry, that's just a little wire hitting my ear. Don't worry about it.
But I guess they must have chosen to make it two different color eyes. Of course, at the same time, in post-production, they can kind of, like after you're finished filming it, when they get it into the computer and stuff, they can kind of sweeten the color of the eye, make a blue eye look really blue, or even change the colors of eyes or hair. They can do everything now. It's crazy.
No, and then back then too, I mean, we would have like a 7 a.m. call with Sloth. The actor John Matusak would show up like 3 a.m. And he would be in this trailer, like spending,
Yeah, it was like 7 hours of makeup.
having his makeup put on him. So
7 hours, man.
And the first version of it was really bad.
Really bad.
Like you couldn't, it didn't look, you couldn't show
Like
it.
octopus bad.
was it scary?
No. Very scary.
Okay, I think
Why they left that in the movie. They left all the mistakes in the movie.
They were hoping one day people would notice and they could do an extended cut.
I honestly, to this day, don't think they know. A bunch of the stuff.
Who is they?
Oh, actually, let's go her next, and then you're going to be the last one over here. Okay, so right here.
So coming to the cons, we see people wearing shirts or costumes for shows and movies. Is there a particular show or movie that y'all are big fans of?
Is there a particular show or movie that you guys are big fans of?
So many.
Star Wars.
Back to the Future.
All of them. I mean, I'm always like 6 to 8 years late on everything. Like I didn't watch Friends until 2004, and I'm like, oh, this show's great. It's the last season or whatever. So I just binge watched while I was doing Stranger Things in Atlanta. I had lots of downtime, and my wife and kids were in LA. So I binged the whole Game of Thrones, like from the beginning. The trick for me was like putting the Bose headsets on. Like as soon as you put the headset on any of these shows, you can kind of like go into the show. And yeah, so I know the new season's coming out.
My new movie that's coming out is with Dean Jagger.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, no pressure.
There's so many. I mean, there's so many. The two that I haven't watched that I know I need to like go through the whole thing. One is Doctor Who, and the other one is Boobians.
No, I've never seen one episode.
It's cool. The TARDIS is a time machine.
The tortoise.
TARDIS. And now that you know it, you'll see everybody comes up.
Is that when they turn a tortoise into tartar sauce?
And the other one is Walking Dead. Walking Dead and Doctor Who are two like fandom things that I know from doing cons for 15 years are like beloved franchises, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to just watch one episode. I gotta have like.
But see, you know what? I gotta admit, I did that with Lord of the Rings. I don't get into TV shows. I haven't watched a TV show honestly since like
TV's awesome now.
1989.
TV is awesome now. It's awesome.
I don't have time for it in my life. I don't. But so if I have time for anything, I'll sit down and watch a movie. Even if it's an old movie, I just prefer the idea of like a 2-hour story and I'm done. No further commitments necessary. But anyway, but when it came to the Lord of the Rings thing, you know, I auditioned for that part. I don't know how many people know that, but I actually auditioned for that part. You know that.
I don't know if I know that I auditioned for River's part in Stand By Me.
Yeah, but I auditioned for your part. Dude, you came over afterwards and you felt so bad. We had that long talk out by my swimming pool and you were like, you took me out to dinner. You were like, bro, I just gotta tell you, I feel really bad. I was on the set and they told me and I felt really bad and I was like, don't worry about it.
Anything that's painful for friends of mine, I block.
Yeah. No, but he was really a gentleman about it, to be honest, because I was hurting at that time, you know, and he was too, and it was kind of like, I was like, I really needed it. He's like, bro, I got 3 kids, or, you know, I really needed it. And I was like, yeah, you did. It's true. No, I mean, I didn't have a kid yet, and it was a different situation, and and he deserved it. And he did, and the point is that I watched it for him. And when I got into it, I was like, dude, you killed it. I mean, you so
No, he's
killed
really
it.
good. Can I tell you this? One night, my wife and I, we've been to watch the extended
There's a lot. That's what
I watched the
It's
extended one.
like 10 hours. Over 10 hours. It was a long time.
I watched the extended one of all 3 of them.
Did she like it?
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean,
His wife is awesome.
But then again, I've also watched, of course, all the Indiana Jones movies over and over.
Legends, folks.
Show out.
All right, real quick, because we got to wrap this up in the glasses right here. Oh, do you want to tell that story real quick, Sean, for the people that don't know?
Well, it's my responsibility. It's my, well, there was a, Profiles in History did a TV show where they dealt with a lot of movie memorabilia and stuff like that, and awesome, like, Joe Madalena has some of the coolest stuff. I brought my 14-year-old to see that, and she was like, got to hold the Walter PPK, like, James Bond's gun, and Charlie Chaplin's polo hat, and like the switchblade from Rebel Without a Cause, and like, he just had the coolest stuff. So, we were talking about stuff of mine, you know, things that I got to keep from movies, and he told me what he thought that would be worth. And it's a lot of money. And not that you'd ever sell it. Actually, the funny thing about memorabilia is the more you love it, the map.
The treasure map.
Well, I did have the map, but then I left to go do Memphis Belle, and my mom sold our house. Oh. And like, the way my mom and stepdad would roll is big dumpster, boom, stuff would go. If she didn't know what it was or whatever, so I wouldn't have held her responsible for the fact that I left it like up in the attic or whatever. So I pray that someday, well, in the attic. See what I just did there?
That hurts.
Yeah, time. He's giving us time. You guys, it was really. Thank you for